working on YouTube. All right, we are good to go. Right on. Okay, guys.
Right on.
Welcome to the Joyage Kingdom. I'm Cage, your guide. I'll be replacing the voice inside Dread for now, giving you a break from the constant internal monologue that is the human mind. I want to say first, thanks for listening or viewing on whatever platform you're on. If you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. Let's get this video out, pushed out to more and more people. Today, I'm joined by Kyle Gwynn from EZU, product manager. I'm fucking super hyped to talk to you. I figured we might as well try and lock this in while the tension's still here on EZU, just because people got questions, people want to know things, and so we're gonna try and get some of those questions out. But first off, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I've been kind of a fan of your podcast, so it's fun
Yeah?
to be sitting up on stage with you.
Hell yeah, I love that. Dude, yeah, the NFT space has been wild, and you guys dropped in the middle of potentially the worst time in the history of NFTs ever. So what was that like? I mean, there was a few different projects with a ton of hype coming in. You guys definitely were up there. How were you guys managing all that?
Yeah, that was a crazy, I mean, it's still a crazy time, right? And specifically, whenever we launched, we had so much hype, and it was crazy because we had like all of this chin from both like the Ethereum side and then like the Solana side, like
No,
just
yeah.
everybody kind of coming at us. So, I mean, I feel like, in terms of just launching, like number one, we did it in a bear market. Number two, we were the first cross-chain launch. So it was like all of these different things and all of these different emotions coming together. But once Mint Day happened, like obviously we didn't hit the 100% mint, but honestly, the way that we handled that and then like where we're at now, like I'm so stoked that we didn't waste any of those art pieces, that we didn't burn any tokens.
Yeah.
And just like based off of like community feedback at this point, like I think everybody else is really stoked that we didn't do that either, because like people are going crazy about the art. So I think in terms, we've seen projects who didn't mint out and then just didn't end up like going well for them. Like I think we're kind of here to change that narrative. Like we didn't mint fully out, but we addressed it, made it happen, got all 15,000 pieces out there spreading around, and people love the art, and I think we were able to just change it around. I mean, I think we got to throw some credit where credit is due to JB for just doing some ultimate shit posting on our Twitter for the past few days, and has just been building
Shout out,
so
JB.
much hype. Yeah, shout out
Shout
JB, because
out.
that's been amazing.
Dude, yeah, well, there's so many different factors, and I mean, it really depends on your scope of like just like your scope of time, like how you perceive time. In some projects, they're like, look, some of the shit we're trying to do is just going to take a long time. Like I always go to the Gary Vee example just because it's such a good visual. When you look at Gary Vee's thing, you're like, oh my god, 50,000 items, this is crazy. Like, what's the point of this? What's the point of that? It's like, well, there's like a difference. There's certain projects that are trying to like do something a little bit revolutionary, and then there's some projects that are kind of just trying out this NFT thing. And there's a difference. I mean, Volter came on and he came onto the show and he kind of outlined what EZU is all about. And I remember thinking, Jesus, that's a whole ass entire business right there. That's an entire business. What's your exact role like? So you're product manager. Like, what's your day to day look like when you wake up?
Yeah, so I'm strictly product focused. Essentially, I wake up, I make sure that everything on all development fronts and research fronts are going well. So, we're doing some implementations with some customers right now. I'm making sure that they're getting their NFC chips. I'm making sure, because there's a lot of different types of NFC out there. So, I'm making sure they're getting the proper NFC chips for whatever that implementation is, getting them samples, doing some encoding on my side of them, and then working directly with our lead engineer Zach, who's kind of like heading up the development of all of this. So making sure he has everything he needs in terms of because it's like like we feed Zach the vision, he kind of
Mm-hmm.
builds it out. We recently made some hires to make sure that we can hit these deadlines with the we have our closed beta coming up in about 2 weeks now. And then we have our open beta, which is going to be open to all of the EZU holders. That's going to be opening up in the next 8 weeks. So, ultimately just everything that needs to happen between now and that 8 weeks, like that's my concentration. Because we're going to, be doing some t-shirts and some different other pieces to beta test this out to the EZU holders. So making sure we have the right chip for that, making sure that those are getting to the manufacturers, make sure they're getting embedded into the shirts. And then also on the software side, just making sure that we're getting all of that built out within this time frame. Because you're right, the NFT space has a short attention span, so we have some really expedited development
Yeah.
timelines that we're having to hit right now.
Yeah, it's tough, dude. Like, especially if you have a big project, it's like, oh man, it's like 3 months out. Then you got to have like almost little nuggets to give. Like, I don't know what the exact timing is. I think, in my opinion, it's got to. I think it's like, oh man, like I feel like anything over like 4 weeks, people start to get like antsy. You know, I mean, we saw it just now with Doodles. Doodles didn't post for I don't even know what it was, 2 months. Which in the grand scheme of things, if we look back in like 20 years, if Doodles is still around, we're gonna be like laughing because that's ridiculous. That 2 months and people are like freaking out, like what's going on? And then some people were like, let them do their thing. My point there is that there's so many different voices, and EZU's got 15,000.
Yeah.
Items to the collection, right? We had Psychedelic Anonymous 10,000, and then there's a lot of different projects under the Psychedelic Anonymous chain. Have you seen any kind of like what is the vibe between EZU and the Psychedelic Anonymous people? Are they friends? Is this like rivals? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think like a portion of the EZU holders are also Psychedelics Anonymous holders, and it's great because honestly, all of them gave us some really really strong feedback, and they're they're there are critics, but also they are people providing valuable critiques essentially, because it's all about the way that you give feedback, right? Like you can go and shit post us on Twitter, and that's not really doing a whole lot for us. But the Psychedelics Anonymous community seems like they're kind of saying like, hey, from our side, this is like what we're seeing. Like you guys might want to work on this. This is what's happening with Psychedelics Anonymous at this time. So they're really like helping build up the community, helping build up the brand. So it's awesome to have them on board. And it is kind of cool because this is a 15,000 piece collection. And like the whole, kind of goal of all of this was like, let's get more people, right? Like, let's use this to expand the community. And we're sitting at, I think, 6,000 unique holders right now. I have quite a few EZUs. And the cool thing, like our floor price is relatively low right now. I think we're sitting at like 0.08, 0.09 at the time of recording this. Like that is a great entry point for new people to enter the space. And so that's kind of like where I'm thinking like whose birthday's coming up, like who can I get involved in this space that I can gift them an EZU, because like as of right now it's 100 $110, like that's a great birthday present for somebody.
Yeah.
And then just some of the immediate benefits with like the mental health coaching and everything that comes with it, right? Like
We're gonna
there's
start to
some
see everyone in the chat right now. They're like, "It's my birthday tomorrow. Thank you so much,
yeah, just
Kyle."
gifting out the EZUs. Yeah, not gifting out any of the rares, sorry. But I mean,
Damn.
like, I think like if you are somebody who's holding a lot of EZUs and you're somebody who is in the financial place to do so, like use this, gift this to somebody, get them involved in the space. Because like ultimately that's what we got to do, right? We got to build this up, because as of right now, like our narrative out to the normies is not that great, right? The crypto markets are down. Like we got to do something to flip this around, and it's up to us as the broader Web3 community to do that. And EZU is like a strong place to have for this to happen, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm pulling questions, guys. By the way, if you're on Twitter or if you have left a comment on one of the posts we made about this pod, there's a few different questions in here. So I'm going to try and formulate like like some of the questions are great. Some of the questions are terrible. I'm going to be honest. So I'm going to try and form questions based on some of the things people wrote. But one of the things people are really interested in, that I'm also interested in, is like the role that Voltura plays and the Psychedelic Anonymous plays within EZU, and how much, I guess, yeah, how much cross work there is, if there is any, like on a day-to-day basis with the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think like this is something that gets brought up so much. And like whenever Voltura says that Psych is my one and only NFT project, he means that. Now, obviously, Voltura Labs, his company, which has a full team, right? There's quite a few people working over at Voltura Labs. He's the kind of the CEO, the owner of that, and so Voltura Labs both works on EZU, both works on Psychedelics Anonymous. However, like Lewis's passion project, the one that he originally founded, that's Psychedelics Anonymous. That is his, and that is only his,
Mhm.
with the attention of Voltura Labs. Now, EZU is more of a group, collective project between all of us at Voltura Labs and Dash, and the advisors and stuff that we have on. Is Voltura there to help us make decisions, guide us on the product, and do all of these things? Yes, of course he is. However, it's not him really guiding the ship, right? It's a collaborative piece. His main concentration is and will remain on Psychedelics Anonymous. And then over on our side of things, like we just have Lewis's support. Anything
Yeah.
that we need from Volterra, like he's there and helping us make decisions, helping us connect to people that we need to talk with. Like that's his role. It's not his like sole focus. His sole
Right.
focus is on Psychedelics Anonymous. And I think like if you saw Psychedelics Anonymous update number 7, like that was apparent. Like he's heard the community. They're making some changes over on side that I think are going to be really cool. As a PA holder,
Yeah.
like I'm stoked to see that.
Did you know Lewis? Like, do you know him in real life? How long have you guys known each other? How the hell do you start working on EZU? Because I'm gonna be honest, one of the biggest questions I get on my, I don't even, just like across different social medias, is how to get involved on NFT projects. Like people who've been watching me for a while, you guys know I worked with Ugaverse for like 4 or 5 months maybe, and I got in just by making a YouTube video criticizing them, and then they were like reached out. They're like, "Hey, we actually like those criticisms. We saw you make YouTube videos. Like, let's talk about something." And that's how I got involved. But how did you start working with EZU?
Yeah, so Zach and the lead engineer on this, like Zach and I have been exploring this relationship between the physical and digital world for quite some time. Like I think we set out on this way back in like March, and we were just really interested, right? Because if you think about like what NFTs are right now and what they're doing, like so much of them like is a in real life experience. Like people get so excited about merchandise, people get so excited about the in real life events, people get so excited about the conferences. So there's this very like obvious connection between the real world and the digital world. And then these NFTs seem to be the bridge to that. Now, if we can build technologies to create more of a meaningful relationship between the two of those, like I think that is something important that needs to happen. I think that's going to be a core piece of technology in the Web3 world. And so Zach and I started to explore this relationship way back in March. If you scroll back on my Twitter, there's a photo of like a Psychedelics Anonymous mask that we 3D printed,
Oh, no way.
painted to look just like one of the masks. And then we put this Raspberry Pi on the back of it, and essentially bonded this Raspberry Pi to a ERC-721 token. And so the only way that you could, so number one, that proved the authenticity of this mask on the blockchain.
Wait,
And number two,
wait. Did you wait? What did you say about a cake or something?
okay, a Raspberry Pi. So I guess I should have defined that. So a Raspberry Pi is like a small little like microcomputer.
All right, I'm gonna quit real quick. I literally was like, wait, the fuck did he just like? Was he fucking with me? Was this?
No. I'm sorry. So yeah, so like a small little like single processing
Gotcha.
computer chip, like it's the one like it's about the size of a credit card.
Okay.
And so we like bonded this like little computer chip to the back of this PA mask. And then we bonded that computer chip to a non-fungible token.
Mm,
So if this little computer chip wasn't connected to the internet, wasn't powered on, then the ERC-721 token was not available on the network. Like you couldn't trade it, or you couldn't move it while it was just bricked on the network. And then we added a RFID scanner to it. And so, like, let's say we had this chip, it was connected to the internet, it was powered on, everything is all good, and you wanted to transfer ownership of this mask, and at the same time, you wanted to transfer ownership of this digital certificate, in the form of an NFT to the new owner. You have to physically prove that you own that mask.
mm,
So to do that, you would scan the RFID tag, and that RFID tag would essentially tell the token, like, hey, my physical authentication has been presented, and then the token is unlocked, and then you can now transfer the token, and then obviously transfer owner of the physical device. So we're essentially trying to solve the problem of like, oh, this item is backed by an
mm,
NFT. Well, it's like, cool, if you can just go trade the NFT around without trading around the physical object, like is it really backed by that? So we
right.
wanted to create a method to like really bond this. And so I see somebody in the comments said, wait, was Kyle the guy with the
Oh
mask
yeah.
at the NFT NYC event? Yes, that was me. And so at NFT NYC, we were showing people this mask that we had built at the PA house. which was a really cool event. Were you at that by
I
chance?
no, I
Did you make it
wasn't.
out?
I was at NFT NYC, but honestly, I only went to like maybe one or two events that were put on by projects. I didn't even know most of them existed. I got this big spreadsheet with like hundreds of different events, and I ended up missing like 99%
Yeah.
because I was rolling with people that I was friends with online, and so I wanted to meet and hang out with them. So I was more just like running around
Mhm.
wherever they were going, being degenerates. But I didn't like
Nice.
plan for any of the events. Unfortunately, I the two that I went to, I stumbled on by accident. So I wish I had kind of gone to more, but we'll see. Maybe next year. I'm not sure what's going to be like next year. Honestly, I'm really actually I'll ask that after you tell the story about what you think about it'll be for next year.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we were at NFT NYC. We were at the PA house. We were demoing this mask for people. It was kind of funny. Like we ripped all of like because at the PA house you had to use like an RFID tag to like get in and like scan
Nice.
stuff. And so everybody who went into the PA house had an RFID tag. And so what we did is like we like copied the ID off of one of them, and we were like, okay, if this is this PA's ID tag, and we like hit another PA tag, and we saw that like the numbers were correlated, and we are like, all right, we're gonna add 5,000 to this and subtract 5,000 of this in this number, so that every single person at the PA house can physically authenticate this mask. And so it was like if you wanted to demo it, you could literally scan your PA RFID tag to it, and it would like unlock the mask essentially, and like
Oh wow,
make it tradable on the blockchain.
that is pretty sick.
But then yeah, and then Klaus, what Klaus, who was just announced one of the council members for PA, he like tweeted us out, and then Voltura ended up kind of seeing that information, and then we demoed the mask for Voltura at the PA house, and little did we know that like this was kind of always something that EZU was going to do, was like going to explore this relationship. And then we just started having conversations with Volt, and it just aligned that like, hey, you guys have been exploring this for a while. This is what EZU's planning to do. Like, let's join forces and like let's build this thing.
Yeah.
And so that's essentially how it all came together.
So you just did that for fun for yourself, basically. Then Volt saw that, and then he was like, "Yo, what was that?" Like, is that kind of how it happened?
Yeah, like part of it, like Zach and I, like we explored with like maybe launching our own NFT and stuff, but like Zach and I aren't marketers.
Yeah.
Like we would have failed miserably. Like we would have had 3 minutes, and one of them would have been my mom. Like it like it it just wouldn't have worked out. So like it made so much sense. Like I mean, for us to like we just wanted to build a tech.
Yeah.
Like that's all we wanted to do. Like we just wanted to like Zach was kind of new to the space. I had been in it a year at that point, and we were like, dude, we just want to build something. This
Mhm.
is such a cool environment to exist in. Like, how can we make this environment like our full time? Like, how do we make this our full time like our concentration? And like that's what we set out to do. Like we built out this really cool thing, and then we, some cards fell together, and we ended up meeting Fultura,
Yeah.
and we ended up having the right conversations. And then, EZU kind of had on its roadmap like to explore this relationship between the phygital and the well, phygital, that's the industry term everybody's using, to explore this phygital world. And Zach and I were kind of the guys to do it. And so we joined forces, and like here we are.
Dude, that's fucking wild, actually. The one thing I did pull from that, like almost like a less we take from that, is to do something that's a little bit different than most people are doing to get the attention of people, whatever that's got to be. I mean, I remember during like the whitelist meta, when everyone was, we had like figured out
Mhm.
this new way for everyone that was getting whitelist. Like I even tried it out a few times. I actually got it, and I think I made a video actually talking about it. But it's basically like, do some kind of art piece for the NFT, like do something to stand out to the mods, like do whatever you can to get noticed. And it looks like that's kind of a similar idea that we both kind of just made a little bit of an extra effort. Not really sure what was going to come
Yeah.
of it. Like for me, when I posted that video, I didn't even know that I could get hired from an NFT project. Like that wasn't even really like on my radar until they asked me. And I guess it is.
Yeah.
Is that would that be your advice? Do you think, to get people, if two people, if they wanted to work on an NFT project?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the thing is like I think like I mean, Klaus put out a tweet about this the other day, and he worded it so perfectly where it's like you have to add more value than you extract from the space.
Mm,
And like that's the main thing. Like if you want to, you can tweet about projects and stuff, but it's like everybody's kind of doing that. So number one, it's like if you can just add like a little bit more than that, right? Like especially in the Web3 space, there's so much opportunity that it's like if you just go like above the bar right now, then you're going to receive a lot of attention for doing so. And that's the ultimate advice, is like number one, adding more value than you extract, and like number two, just like going above and beyond just a little bit, because like the founders see that, right? Doesn't matter how many notifications that you get, like the founders are constantly watching this stuff. And so if you're one of those people that is, just putting in a little bit more work, then that's going to be noticed. And then, more than likely you're going to be brought in some shape or form,
Yeah.
and really start out with like that's how you kickstart your Web3 journey, essentially.
Yeah. So speaking of that, are there positions at EZU that people should be keeping an eye out for, or is it one of those where who knows what'll happen? Potentially there could be if someone does something wild, or is there anything you guys are actually hiring for?
Yeah, I mean, so right now we just brought on some Swift devs, which is really important. So Swift is the native iOS language, so we got to work on that. One of the things, like, we don't have any formal openings right now, but one of the things I'm going to be hiring for, like, in the next like 6 months probably, is a data scientist.
Mm,
So, if you're a data scientist out there, start throwing together some stats and start making sense of some of the data. Like, we'll notice that because, yeah, I mean, like, one of the things with EZU is like the people who are comfortable sharing information about the clothing that they're wearing and where they're wearing it to. We want to make sense of that information and be able to provide that to the brands who are utilizing where to earn in a meaningful way. And so bringing on like a data scientist to help us do that is going to be like a very crucial hire for us, essentially.
yeah, for sure. And the one way I will add to that is if you are a or even if you're not a content creator, I would say that's probably the easiest and best way to get your face and name out there. If you are, so for example, use this as an example. If you are a data scientist, you can hire some kid to make a video for you. You could probably on Fiverr for like $50, and you just film a video that's probably gonna be really boring and not interesting, and then just hire him to make it better. Just be like, okay, like here's all the information, here's my face, here's the screen share of what I did. Make it a little bit interesting and keep it under 2 minutes, and like get that out there and post 35 renditions of that. And I think that's one way you could get your name out there. I think for honestly, any position, if you're looking to get hired by an NFT project, you should be making video. You can post that on literally every single social media is a video focused social media now. So that's the way to get it out there, in my opinion. We also have a good question here that I was going to ask. Will holding multiple EZUs ensure your holders a higher multiple, example 10x, if you hold 10 NFTs for earning Psycoin?
Yeah. So answer is yes. I don't want to give any specifications on like what that bonus is going to look like at this point, because tokenomics are something that I really, really want to put a lot of concentration on. Because obviously, like, if you fuck that up, you're going to have some really bad looking charts, and you're going to
Yeah.
have, the same fate that a lot of other like to earn economy type coins have suffered. And obviously, Psycoin has a lot more utility than just to earn, which I think is like number one, the first step in the right direction. However, we just have to figure out what that right formula is for, because the way this essentially works is like, Zach, being the gigabrain he is, has a degree somehow in mathematics alongside like computer science and like 15 other
Holy
things.
shit.
And yeah, the guy's insane. And so like we have this like mathematic formula right now that we're like working on curating, that essentially is like, how many EZUs are the people holding? How long were they utilizing where to earn? What data pieces did they share? What clothing items were they wearing? How many clothing items were they wearing? Where were they wearing them to? And so it's like adding a weight to all of these variables, and then eventually like spitting out per session like how much psi the user earned. And so like we're really trying to like curate that formula right now to make sure we get that right, so we're not like number one, like overcompensating and then like essentially oversaturating the market with tokens, and then you get that terrible dive bomb of a chart. And
Yeah.
so just to, I guess, sum it up, yes, you will be receiving more bonuses for more EZUs that you hold. I don't want to give a exact like multiplier on that right now because it would be irresponsible, and it would be
Yeah.
information that probably like changes next week. So as we
Well,
test more.
regardless, John Doe is bullish on Gigabrain. So shout out Gigabrain.
Me too. I've been trying to beat that guy at a game of chess for like 6 months now, and I kid you not, I have not won a single game.
Dude, I have not played chess in a very long time. What it's interesting you bring up chess because I just read the other day that apparently the grand chess master lost to some like teenage kids. You hear about that?
Yeah, no, it was huge. It was a big deal.
Yeah, I think well, the allegedly he cheated. I don't know if that's true or not. I feel like that's like the
I
standard. That's the standard go to if you beat a grandmaster. They cheated. They 100% cheated is what people go to. But no, I
I
did have
don't
this
know how you
question
could
for.
cheat at
I don't
chess.
know.
Like it's like such a foolproof game, and like so many people watching for the grandmasters. I'm gonna have to watch
I
the
think he said
conspiracy
he
theory
was like,
videos.
"Yo, I'll play this game naked." He's like, if you think I had some up my sleeves, I will literally play this game naked." So we'll see what happens there. But with
That's
EZU, this
hilarious.
is one question that I saw pop up, and then I formed my own question around it. So one of the things I saw was a common thing here around EZU's like brand and the narrative around EZU, I guess, is like there's this push now for potentially utility focused NFTs. We've heard Gary Vee talk about it. He's like, we're going to go into more of a utility focused world with a hint of collectability. Would you say
Mhm.
that's probably what EZU is? Because the problem with EZU is that the art is so damn good that, in my opinion, it's like a waste not to like lean super far into it. And like I said on that tweet, like make it into like a Yu-Gi-Oh kind of game because the art is so fucking good. What would you say? I guess the narrative for EZU should be moving forward, or is it too early? Maybe.
No, I mean, like we got both sides, right? Like I think JB like tweeted out the meme from the Matrix where it's like take the red pill and have like great
Yeah.
art, take the blue pill and have great utility. And it was like, fuck, did you just take both pills? Because like that's
Oh
what we
yeah, I
got
saw
going
that
on
actually.
here. That's what we got going on here. Like there's such a cool like story and narrative like and we're going to slowly roll that out, right? Like we have the four different factions, we have the travelers, and we have like each faction represents and stuff, and like there's going to be a really cool story side of this and like cool brand side to this. And each faction is kind of going to be its like own brand and like its own like kind of like its own NFT project in its own. And then on the flip side, like we're going to be like using this like really cool brand to like influence our product.
Yep.
Like I cannot wait. I threw this out on Twitter like last week that we're going to share some UIs, like UI previews here pretty soon. Like I'm so stoked for everybody to see those because they're so influenced by everything that the art that EZU is. um and like people are going to get so stoked by it because like yeah, the like we have such a cool brand, like the art, the colors, the color schemes of each different faction, like implementing that same I guess that same vibe into the product. It's going to I think, as we like to say, it's going to melt people's faces. um and like there's two sides of it, right? Because we talked about the branding side, the product side. Like there's going to be a product roadmap. There's also a side of this that's like just your kind of honestly what a NFT should at a very standard have. Like we're having the stuff go on at Art Basel. Like we're gonna have merchandise. We're gonna have like all of the essentially anything that an NFT project is offering right now. Like that's a standard for us. The
Hmm.
product is just a bonus.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, it says John Doe says he's burning. I assume he meant bullish here. He's burnish on the entire ecosystem apparently. And then, dude, that's beautiful. I don't know who you're talking about, John. If you're talking about me, thank you. If you're talking about Kyle, then I'm sure he would echo the same thing there. We appreciate you, John.
Yeah, no, Katie's definitely talking about you. Your hair is luscious.
Dude, it's interesting. I guess I haven't really said this because it's not really relevant to anything, but I thought about like I need to get this haircut probably to like here or something like that. It's definitely long, right? It's definitely longer than I would want. It looks great. It looks fine on camera, but anytime I'm not in camera, I don't have the headphones on. Typically, like I wear the hat sometimes, right? But it's like so long that it, like almost looks weird in my opinion when I look in like the mirrors now. But I can't cut it
Yeah.
because it looks fine on camera. And in my opinion, like
Uh,
it matters more what I look like when I turn the camera on than literally like my normal life. I don't know what it is in your life right now, but like I guess I need to make a video on this, but I guess I'm so bullish on the metaverse because there are so many people who don't quite fit like in this world. And it, like not,
yeah.
I don't know what it is. Like for me, I've just never quite fit in anywhere. I never really felt like I wanted to, even when I started to fit in some places and some factions and groups
Hmm.
and stuff. And so when the metaverse came about, and I was like, oh, like this is like this online world where it never sleeps. Everything's pretty much okay in some way or shape or form. And in my head, I'm like, the metaverse makes sense because there's a lot of people like me where we don't really care. Like my dad, I remember when I was a kid, asked me, he's like, if an alien came up to you and said, hey, we'll take you with us, the thing is you can't come back. Would you go? And I was like 7 years old and I was like, fuck yeah. I was like, oh, peace. I don't know what it was, but
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree, man. Like it's like a group of misfits that all like got together and have just been building some like really cool shit, like, and have made so much, like dude, like think about the impact that Web3 like has had. Like think about, we have had mainstream media talking about the NFTs and like different, like, you know, the apes and like the pudgy
Yeah.
penguins, and like, dude, like we've like like we have infiltrated like all aspects of life essentially at this point, and like we've done it as this like anonymous group of misfits, which is
Yeah.
so fucking cool. Like
That is
that's like,
true.
that's like, dude, like, yeah, so, like scope out, like, dude, what we have been able to accomplish like as like the Web3 community, which I feel like that like Web3 was really adopted like a year, like maybe like 2 years ago for the real like early people. But like think about the amount of impact, the amount of cool shit that we've been able to build in that, and it is like this, like we all just like hide behind our profile pictures, which I like. Like like you, when you asked me for a photo of myself, I was like, dude, I have none. Like
Yeah,
I
dude, that's very common in this space. Every time I ask, they're like, "Shit," and they go to like find like a picture from 12 years ago.
yeah, and so it was like I'd much rather just identify as like my profile picture, honestly, because it's a lot better looking than me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I didn't really think about it like that until you just said that. Like, you're right. There, some of the art is so cool that, in my opinion, like in the metaverse, I would totally rather roll as an avatar of one of my favorite NFTs. It just looks more fun. Like, you can run around. At least the examples we've seen. I mean, I'm skipping ahead and looking at like Ready Player One level stuff. Like that
Mhm.
stuff makes me super excited. And if that was a possibility, dude, like I'm gone. Like I don't know about you, but like I'm going in. I would love to see what people in the comments think about that. Like if a Ready Player One was an option for VR, I hear both sides. In my head, I can't think of a reality where I wouldn't jump into that world like 24/7. But a lot of people like don't see it. Like I listened to a conversation yesterday, and they were like, I don't think that 99% of people are gonna use most of their life in this metaverse. And I was like, yeah, but we already are on social media for like most people are using social media more than they're not. I feel like, and they're
Yeah.
on Instagram and they're really, really caring about what happens and how their Instagram layout looks like and their Twitter, how their followers look like, if they're verified. And I was like, man, I don't agree with that. I think people are going to use the metaverse way more than we think. Like, what is the role you think the metaverse will play in like 10 years?
Dude, I like I asked one of my like people I follow on Twitter this one time. It was the guy, his name's Data NFT. I think that guy's pretty cool. And I asked him this, and his response was like, I don't know if like the metaverse will ever be this place where you're spending like 24 hours a day. I think the metaverse will be a place to like replace Netflix. Like in the evening times, you
Mm,
want to unwind, go jump in the metaverse, go hang out with your friends, like go do a quick activity, right? Like starting to replace this, you know, maybe playing video games for a couple hours a day, maybe watching Netflix for a couple hour days, maybe, you know, desk scrolling Instagram for a couple hours a day. Like the metaverse like might replace that. Like like you know, when you get off work and you come home and you want to go like chill out, like dude, go dive into the metaverse and like
yeah,
act like, because you know you can have some really cool experiences there, and honestly like I'd much rather have this like interactive experience than just like sit there and like brainlessly like watch a Netflix show, or
yeah,
like I recently like deleted like Instagram and like Snapchat and like Facebook and all those, because I was like, dude, like I can't deal with the death scroll and like the same audio being used over and over again on videos. Like I need something new. And so like I think that's like potentially the role that the metaverse is going to play, right? And then that's like at a like at a you know, a very non-biased standpoint. Like I think you're gonna have people who are like radically pro metaverse, like
mm.
I'm gonna spend 24 hours a day there, and then you're gonna have people who are like radically like, yeah, I'm gonna spend like maybe 30 minutes a week there. And
Well, like
so
imagine
like,
if you're working in the metaverse, right? Like you have a full time job. We're working in this metaverse or in this NFT world. There's people working 12 to 15 hours a day right now. So if like the metaverse, we move forward, we scroll forward, they're working in the metaverse 15 hours a day. Like I wonder what they're going to do with the rest of their time. Like, are they going to unplug and like go out for a hike? Like I think there will always be that, you know, those people who don't care
mhm,
about technology at all. They're not using Instagram, they're not using Facebook, they're out there hiking and doing mountains and shit like that. Like I think that'll probably
yeah,
stay the same. But I also think when they realize, oh, I can like climb Mount Everest kind of on this VR world, like that's actually pretty cool too. I'll do that a few times a week. And that's where I see like my dad jumping in. Like he's definitely more outdoors, but he's got this like double life where he works in Silicon Valley and he's like a super nerd. And so I'm really fucking excited, dude. Like I'm really, really excited. The fact that my dad is even giving it a second look and saying this might be something in my head. I'm like, okay, we'll see what
nice,
happens. I'm just
yeah.
excited. I'm just really excited.
No, I agree with that, man. Like, I like to go outside. Like, I'm visiting back home right now. Like, dude, it's been such a crazy past month between Mint, between Reveal, between like
Mm,
this expedited development timeline. Like, you know, I figured like, all right, reveal's good. Like we're on track for timeline. Like I'm gonna go spend the weekend, hang out with like my parents, because like I'm like from a tiny little town like on the border of New Mexico and Colorado, and so it's like
Okay.
the town in Colorado is like the gateway to like probably the most beautiful mountains like in the country. Like ton of 14ers. Like I'm sure if you've ever heard of like Telluride, Colorado, Silverton, Ouray, Colorado, like that's like all 45 minutes from me where I grew up.
Dude, I
So I'm
just I
back.
just came from Colorado. I was living there for like a year. I lived in Littleton. I don't know if you know where that is. It's like an hour from
Yeah,
Denver.
yeah. Definitely know where Littleton is.
Yeah, I liked
Um,
Colorado. It was the Rocky. I mean, I went to the Rocky Mountains. That was the big mountain range that I went to. Rocky
mhm.
Mountains easily is number two for me. And I've visited literally everywhere, and so Rocky Mountains is fucking beautiful. What was the place you just said?
Telluride, Ouray, Silverton. So those are all in like the Front Range. So it's
Mm,
or so you're like probably everywhere you went and visited is on the Front Range. Like you probably went to like Vail, like Breck, like Aspen, like
probably.
Frisco, like kind of all those places. So it's like if you go like south, like to southern Colorado, like it becomes a little bit more rural. Telluride's
Mm,
kind of like the last like really expensive place, and then you get to places like Ouray and Silverton, which like are insane. Like they're so inaccessible. They're so um just not, I mean, they're getting a lot more touristy now, but yeah, like those mountains are crazy. Like you're just surrounded by 14ers, like, and like it's just it's a great place just to kind of get away and chill. So it's like I
yeah.
understand like coming out here, but it's like once I get back, like it's like back to like concentration on the metaverse. Like
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Colorado is beautiful. I was actually really shocked that when I moved to Colorado for the year, I didn't realize it was like dry. Like, I mean, I knew it would be dry, but like I didn't really know that it would, like, there was a lot more plains, I guess, in Colorado. I thought Colorado was like all luscious green mountains, trees, but then when I moved to Washington State, I realized that's what that was, a bit more
yeah,
tropical of a place. I didn't realize Colorado was like that. But my parents are out there right now. They love Colorado.
nice. Yeah, I mean, where you're at in Littleton, like everything, like, you know, essentially north of that is like pretty flat until you hit like
Yeah.
Wyoming and stuff.
Have you thought about, like, have you been there? Are you living in Colorado full time? Have you wanted to move out anywhere?
Yeah, I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico full time. Like that's where the national lab that Zach and I were working at prior to working on the EZU stuff. But honestly, like yeah, I think I'm about to list my house for sale. Um, and just honestly, I might end up in Washington, so I might be up there in
Dude,
Seattle with you because I
fuck
love it.
yeah.
Like I've read a ton of mountain bikes, and like Washington's the spot for that. So
Yeah, I really love Washington State, but I'm a big fan of the weather. People think I'm crazy, but I'm not a huge fan of hot, sweaty, humid shit. I grew up in that side. I was on the East Coast on the beach, so I'm
mhm.
kind of tired of that stuff. But yeah, Seattle would love to have you, man. There's NFT Seattle, by the way, at the end of this month, so I'm really excited about that.
Oh, damn, I'm gonna have
Um,
to drop in for that.
Speaking of NFT Seattle, speaking of the conference, that was the question I was going to come back to earlier. What do you think NFT Seattle will be like? Or sorry, not NFT Seattle. What do you think NFT NYC? Because I assume that'll be the big one again next year. Tom, another YouTuber, thought that NFT NYC might be a dud next year. He's like, they're going to run out of money. All these projects. What do you think it's going to be like? Because this year is a lot of big crazy parties. They rent out these massive venues, and I was like, fuck, that was probably like $1 million.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Honestly, like the teams that like I guess like didn't manage their funds and like didn't account for not having secondary royalties to depend on, might not have the ability to have any events. Like I think Art Basel is going to be a really good determining factor of that. You know, that happens in December. It's like November 29th to December 3rd or something like that. I mean, because I feel like a lot of these like projects that may not have like a ton of money like aren't going to be throwing wild parties, which is kind of cool because now it might be like more like niche artists like showcasing art, like
Yeah.
instead of it just being like, all right, like let's go and like get hammered at this open bar because our NFT project paid for it. Like maybe it is going to be like more of an art experience. Like maybe it is going to be a little bit more intimate. Like maybe it's going to be like just like a less like party oriented. Like of course like there are going to be the parties, we can all go to those, we can all enjoy those, but that's not like the main focus of it. And like the focus of it actually can be the art and cool utility pieces. So yeah, I mean like I mean if you're looking for a party, like you're always going to be able to find a party. That's like a given. No, I mean, if you're in Miami and you're in New York City, NFT or not NFT, like you're going to be able to find parties.
Yeah.
So now that we're like kind of removing that from the space, because like projects, like you said, aren't just going to be able to afford that, like we might see actually spend more time paying attention to artists and utility and things of that nature that are going to be being demoed and shown at those events. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like if you're looking at it from a party standpoint, you're probably right. Like in terms of like NFT parties, they might be a little bit far and few between. But I still think there's going to be a lot of cool shit happening those weeks.
Well, you actually said something that sparked my my brain just now. And I know there's quite a few, especially new project founders who watch my channel just because I make videos that are kind of pertinent to them. Partnerships with Web2 companies. Griffin Johnson talked about this on the NGMI podcast, and I think that was a huge point that I've been yelling about for a long time because I just think it makes sense. Like NFT projects partnering up with either influencer people who are covering the space because it keeps them relevant to the entire space rather than just their own community. I always thought that was like a given. That hasn't happened. I called for that like 7 months ago, thinking it would happen by Christmas. It never happened. There's a couple people who are partnering up with them. I just thought it makes sense. I was like, NFT projects are replicating what influencers did in 2015, 2016, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And I was more shocked that, like, maybe you can use EZU for example. EZU would partner up with X YouTuber, and they have some kind of collaboration, and that YouTuber continues to make content covering the space, covering all these things. People keep coming to their channel. They keep saying, "Oh, he's sponsored by EZU. That makes sense. That's really interesting. What is this project about? I like this person. Why would they be partnering with them?" And then in the same respect that those NFT projects would start partnering up with Web2 companies that are trying to come into the space, they can kind of link kind of how CloneX and Nike did and help each other out. And then Nike would be the one throwing the party, sponsored by CloneX, or it'd be vice versa. And I thought that thing would potentially happen. And that's where my head is looking, because the NFT NYC, the only projects bothering to do anything at NFT NYC are the ones who stuck around, who made the right decisions.
Yeah.
And I think NFT NYC is going to be lit because it's only going to be the projects that are dope as fuck.
And
so
like those experiences are probably going to be like really fleshed out. But I think you're right. Like if you think about it, all of us are living in a very like extreme view Web3. Like we're Web3 maxis to the max. And then like there's some things in Web2. Like Web2 was really like what allowed all of us to do this, right? Allowed all of us to connect like this online, and allowed so much of this, and like allowed the infrastructure for a lot of this to happen. So I think really like the mass adoption of like Web3 and Web2 happens somewhere in between. And what you kind of just talked about is like maybe the start to moving that direction, right? Because like if we just think that Web2 is fully going to disappear and like people are just going to transition to Web3, like that's pretty irresponsible. It's like going to happen somewhere between, right? Like because normies and Web3 max, like all normies aren't going to be Web3 maxis ever.
Yeah.
That's just like people just don't care. People aren't interested. Like people just want to death scroll. Like that's fine. That's okay. And so like Web2, Web3, it's going to meet somewhere in the middle, and like that's where the mass adoption is going to happen. And I think like things like that, like events like that are like going to start to, I guess, change that narrative a bit.
Yeah, you're right. I think it will be. It's got to be in the between, because there's a reason that companies are centralized. Like you can't. It's really really hard to run anything decentralized. Not everyone who's going to be voting knows anything about anything, and so it's really really hard to run it DAO. I can't think of that many that are doing it successfully, just because they're not qualified. Most of the people voting, and so I think Web3 is going to have to let go a little bit of trying to go for this big new idea, because the idea is what gets people into the door, and then you realize there's things that have to happen to kind of win the game and to actually navigate and surf the waves. But either way, I mean, the Web3 world is fun. It's exciting. And so many people from the Web2 space are coming in. It's surprising that all these big companies almost waited till the bear market, like in the middle of this bear market. The fact that Starbucks is in now, it almost like is backwards to what I thought. I'm like, it's surprising to me that these massive companies are coming into the during the recession and partnering with Web3 companies. It's good for the future, because it's like, okay, they obviously don't care about buying into this hype. It almost makes better sense for them to wait until the market's cooled down to announce anything.
Well, see, and I think that it almost makes sense, because like the problem is with like anything Web3 right now is that they're all like tied to some form of financial asset. Like even if you are using like an NFT to build a product, at this point, like the current narrative is like your product is only as good as like the performance, like the financial performance of your product. And like we really got to change that narrative, because like that's just not how it works, right? Like you can have a great product, a great team, a great everything, and like if for some, like, you know, if you just have a low floor price, people are like, oh, like the project is shit. It's like, no, it's not. Um, and you know, these large companies launching into the bear market, it's like, okay, crypto is really down, and then so on this like next big bull run that, you know, eventually will happen, people are gonna be like, oh wow, like Starbucks is genius. Like they were at the bottom and like look at, like it's at the top now. Like regardless of like the relationship between financial assets and like Starbucks reward program that's like built on Polygon, like people are always like people currently really want to like determine the success of blockchain and Web3 by the financial assets tied to them.
Yeah.
And the two are so disconnected. Like you have projects with shit, you know, with no docs team, no roadmaps, no product, no nothing, that'll absolutely pump.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, and then you'll have projects that have really good teams, really good products, like this, that, and then like we'll have like no price action. People just hate this product, hate this project, but love the one that has no map, no rotate. Like that is an
Right.
absolute rug. And so it's like, yeah, like until the two, like until we can solve that problem, like we've we the reason like Starbucks joining right now and then them being up, like it makes sense. But yeah, we really got to work on that problem of like tying these like financial assets together, because yeah, like the quality of your team, the quality of your product, the quality of everything should be the thing that reflects your floor price, should be the thing that reflects the financial asset associated with your product.
Yeah. Yeah. And to clue people in on some of the time I'm spending right now, I'm actually going back and rewatching videos from a while ago. Like the other day, I watched a keynote from Gary Vee from like 2015, maybe, just to see like what they were thinking about and talking about, like what the perspective of what they were doing back in 2015 versus now. And I've actually thought about going back and watching like Journey with Crypto or Elliot Trades to their videos where they're covering the bear market of 2018 and seeing where their head's at. Because one of the things that's interesting to me is it seems that NFTs are modeling. They have to, because it's just humans who are controlling these. Right? It's our emotions that move the market up and down and sideways, right? And so because of that, I figure that NFTs would likely follow a similar trajectory to like what crypto does, right? Crypto's a bit further along. They've got, you know, probably way more. Well, I actually don't know what their finances look like compared to NFT projects, but they've got some money. A lot of the crypto companies, the top ones, right? They are still trading on speculation. But if you look at, like, we can use a Cardano, Solana, AVAX, or something for examples of cryptos in the bull market, people were trading based on news. There's a big event coming up in 2 weeks. We should all start dollar costing our way into it and then sell the news kind of thing. And potentially
Mm-hmm.
NFTs could play a similar role. And the utility with the hint of collectability might make it way more interesting, which is why I'm way more bullish on
Yeah.
NFTs than crypto, just because of that emotional side of these pictures that we can't get rid of. You know, if you buy 2 EZUs, but you really like one of them, there's no chance you're gonna be able to sell that. Like, it's just really, really
Mm-hmm.
hard. So I've actually been watching those videos, trying to predict a little bit like what's going to happen in the NFT markets. But anyways, this question popped up a second ago that I wanted to ask you. Totally not related to what we were just talking about, but what do your friends in real life think about NFTs? Do they know that you're running this project and like doing all this, like doing the product and all these things for EZU?
Like some of my really close friends do, but for the most part, like they don't. I mean, like the one of the reasons that I love conferences is because you spend having conversations that like are two-way, and they are conversations struck by ideas. And like whenever you just like try to talk to your normie friends about like a lot of this, like just you spend so much time explaining. And in my current
Mm,
form factor, like I am so burned out on like explaining at this point. And so, but I mean, that's like, it's great because that's one of the things that we're concentrating on. It's like working on our UIs so that like our normie friends can come into this. And it's not like, all right, you got to store this 25 key thing in a gun safe and bury the other one in your backyard. And then I'm going to send you this. And then like, you got to use this ledger device. Like we got to like work on those UIs, and then we can just like get them using it, right? Like, you know how in a board game, like the easiest way to show somebody how to do it is like just play it
yeah.
and explain it as long as it goes. Like once we have these UIs a little bit more fleshed out, like we'll just be able to get people in and like let them start playing and explain it to them as they go. But yeah, like I mean, it's like so funny. Like my parents, you know, I'm visiting them and like I constantly like try to explain to them, or like, I don't get it. My brother, he's like, I don't know what the hell you do. And like, yeah, even like my normie friends, like who do like know that I'm working on this, they're like, that's really cool, but I got no idea.
Yeah.
um,
It's tough to explain the why, because you're like, well, like, technically not yet, but like it will. That's what I'm working
yeah,
for, like in the future. And they're
yeah,
like, yeah, okay. But
yeah.
yeah, no,
I
I'm having
mean,
a similar thing there.
yeah, everybody calls you crazy until you do it, right?
It's fact. That is a fact. But we will be headlining. So people who are watching, congrats. You're here with the OGs. We'll be here. Do you remember? So I wanted to do like a little bit of like rapid fire Q&A, just a bunch of random questions that I wrote down. I just love doing these because I'm just interested in what people who are also in the NFT space working on about these
Yeah,
random things.
definitely.
Do you remember the first NFT that you hold? Or that you bought?
Yes, Pudgy Penguin.
Get out of here. Are you serious?
Yeah, my first NFT was a Pudgy Penguin. I literally bought one of the least rare ones ever because I had no idea about rarity. But like that was like peak bull market, and like literally like right after I bought it, somebody offered me like 0.5 more ETH than I had paid for it. I was like, accept. Like it was literally the
Wow.
least rare penguin. It was like the least rare penguin ever. It was like somebody offered me more money for it. I was like, all right, let's do this. Like I'll accept
Damn,
that. Like
dude. When
try,
Kyle Alpha Group.
dude, no, trust me, I'm the world's worst trader. After since then, I've just gone downhill.
I think that's like a common trait between everyone who's building in the market. They all realize like, shit, trading's kind of hard. Trading might
Yeah,
maybe should be left to people who trade. You know, like that stuff is hard.
yeah, dude, the flippers are on another level. Like the flippers, like, dude, that attitude is insane. Like when they hop in Discord and they're like asking all these questions, like, because it's like they're trying to flip this thing like tomorrow. I'm like, fuck, dude, like, where do you get this energy from?
Yeah, it is crazy because I remember that feeling like in the middle of like peak euphoria of last year, probably towards the end of the summer was when I remember feeling the euphoria and I could like my heart felt like it was beating on 2.5x speed. Like I just was
Yeah,
moving quick. Everything was moving fast. I didn't know what anything meant. No one knew what anything meant because there was nothing to look back on. Like there had never like I remember when Space Punks and like Dogepound dropped their secondary collections and I was like, whoa, everyone was like, holy shit, they just airdropped all these things. And I remember like posting it on like fucking Facebook to like flex on all my grandparents and all these old people who were talking shit.
oh, dude, I did the same thing. I posted my Pudgy Penguin on my Instagram story, and people were like, "The fuck?" I was like,
Yeah,
"If you know, you know, all right. If you know, you know."
exactly. Dude, that's really how it was. That's funny. And now the market's down, so they're all talking shit to us now.
Yeah, it's
Not
like,
looking
yeah,
forward to
well,
Thanksgiving.
yeah, not posting my NFTs on my Instagram story anymore.
Yeah, that's sad. It's a sad time. All right. Um, what is, if you can remember, one of the hardest things you've worked through, and did it have anything to do with Web3, or was it way before NFTs?
Ooh, it was way before NFTs, honestly. So at the time when COVID hit, I ran my own company before then. Like I had a direct to consumer e-com store. It was pretty big.
Nice.
It's called Shutter Bombs. Like in 2 years, like we grew to about
Wait,
1.5 million in revenue.
wait, what was it called?
Shutter Bombs. You can go to shutterbombs.com.
I think I've heard of that actually.
Probably like so we sold colored smoke bombs to like content creators. Like our claim to fame is we provided all of the smoke bombs for Travis Scott and Drake's music video Sicko Mode.
Whoa.
Um yeah, yeah. And so like that was like that was like my company for a bit. Like I started in college just because I needed money and like I had a class on like digital commerce. And so I kind
Oh,
of like fell into it. And however, so it's like when COVID hit, right? Like we were, at that point, like it was my full-time gig. Like I had people working for me like full time. And
wow.
when COVID hit, we also like got hit with this like weird shipping regulation, and our shipping prices literally went from like $10 a label to $50 a label at the same time a global pandemic was hitting. And
Wow.
so like we literally like had to fund a fulfillment center to like um package our orders the proper way and do the proper labeling. And then like with COVID hitting, like it was literally like the most stressful thing that I feel like I would think I was like 22 at the time, like a 22-year-old business owner like ever had to go through. It was like a miracle that I survived. Like I remember just being so stressed out, like so freaked out that I like wasn't gonna be able to pay people like all the time just because like company just like cash flow is just being so tied up and like inventory and like shipping. And oh, it was a wreck. So that was definitely probably like the hardest point in my life. I would say at this point.
Damn. Yeah. Entrepreneurship has taught me this past year that this shit is fucking so hard. It is
Yeah,
so emotionally draining. You never know how you're gonna do. You can go 4 weeks straight with absolutely nothing, and then 3 days of just chaos, and that'll fund your next 6 months kind of thing. And like that's been my life for the past year. and it has been killing me, dude. Like it is a lot of work. So major respect to you. I had no idea you were one of the ecom guys. I don't want to group you into like the ecom guys, but like the ecom guys who like understood that shit and took advantage.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, as much as the ecom guy I was, like I had all of our ad buying outsourced.
Mm,
I had like email marketing outsourced. So it was like I just, essentially just ran the company and put all the puzzle pieces together. The guy who runs it now is like super dope. His name's Jake.
nice.
He's also in the Web3 space. Like him and I were
Cool.
like we were like that's what like him and I like got each other into NFTs and like we were buying all of the same stuff and so yeah, and like we're super tight now. But yeah, that was definitely it. That was
Yeah,
definitely I don't
nice.
know. I also broke my pelvis in high school. That was pretty difficult, but
Doing what?
I survived that one. Dirt bikes.
Oh shit, no way, you did dirt bikes.
Yeah, yeah. Used to race. Used to like. I'm a very washed up extreme sport athlete.
Damn. Well, I've never played a sport that dangerous. I played soccer and I ripped both my ACL, so I can relate to you on the pain
Oh,
part. But
that's violent, dude. ACLs are
yeah,
brutal.
it sucked. Yeah, that was a lot of rehab. I got strong ass fucking knees though. I got strong ass knees.
That's all that matters now.
I'm gonna tell that to every girl I go on a date on. That's gonna be my intro word. My knees are fucking strong. Okay. Uh, oh, this is actually really interesting to me. So you did the econ thing. You're doing entrepreneur stuff. Early adult years has kind of been like the theme. It sounds like was the years up to college, like high school stuff. Were you flipping fucking silly bands and stuff? Like, was that life for you? Like as a middle schooler too? Like I know some people started really early.
A little bit. I had like the classic out of the backpack candy business.
Did you
Like,
really?
yeah, yeah.
So cool.
Um, and honestly, mine was pretty legit. 'Cause, like, I would like deliver these bags that like had like $50 worth of candy bars into it to my friends. And I was like, all right, you better bring me $50 back in this exact same bag, otherwise we're gonna have problems. But for the most part, like so I guess like tying in this dirt bike racing thing. So like I was like a very subpar dirt bike racer. Like I would go to like the nationals, like I would get like, top tens. Like I was, good, but like not good enough to cut it. In college, I like went over and raced in Mexico for a bit. Because like in like the States, like I couldn't cut it as a pro.
Mm,
But in Mexico, like I could, and I could be like on a team and have support over there. Um, and so like that was like what a lot of my concentration was in high school was just like slowly like racing dirt bikes. Like I thought that was like what I was gonna do. But then I had that really bad crash, broke my pelvis in two places, like broke my hand, had a bunch of turtle bleeding, didn't walk for 3 months. And from there, that was like whenever I turned like my concentration to like this entrepreneurship world. And like essentially it was like the summer before my senior year of high school. And I was like, I like need to figure out if I'm gonna go to college. So I figured out like a really cool entrepreneurship program at the University of New Mexico,
nice.
went and signed up, applied, and like that's what really like kicked off my journey into entrepreneurship and stuff.
Jesus, dude. Are all your friends in the entrepreneurship lane? Like, is that who most of your friends are?
Honestly, most of my friends like still come from the extreme sports world.
Okay.
Like just in terms of like, hanging out with people on the weekends and like doing activities, like I still mountain bike a ton. I ride a ton of skate park, ton of dirt jumps, and so like that those are most of the people I hang out with. However, like I do have my newfound like group of friends like in the Web3 world that are all super entrepreneurial related. And then I do have like a few like far and few between friends that like, are doing their entrepreneur stuff. But like honestly,
Yeah,
entrepreneurs are so busy, it's like hard. So
that's
but yeah,
true.
most of my friends are like we're all kind of just like some dirtbag extreme sport athletes.
That's awesome. So also, you mentioned the Web3 space. So with how would you compare? You've ran a successful business in the normal world, utilizing the digital space though, and then now you've
Yeah.
got this Web3 world. There's an added dimension of a fucking lot of people all yelling at you in Discord about what they want and how it's going to affect their bags and stuff. What are the differences? Is one harder than the other?
Yeah. I mean, like from a, in from a
Oh shit! Hold on, fam. I'm gonna message. He seemed to have popped out. You might have lost connection. One sec. If you have any questions, we're gonna be wrapping up soon, so just drop them in the chat. I'm gonna shoot him a message, see what happened. Device die. All right. Well, while you guys are in here for a second, the Joyage Kingdom shop is still open. It closes in, I think, a week. So I believe it's this hat's available. But if you guys want to check that out, oh, he's back. He's back. There
Sorry
he is.
about that.
One sec. No worries,
I'm in
dude.
the middle of nowhere where my Wi-Fi occasionally cuts out. But yeah, so when you're dealing with customers, you can refund them, like you can work with them to make them happy, send them a free product. But it's like with an NFT holder, like, you know, they are kind of the reason for your existence. And so you have to like be able to find this happy medium ground with them. So it's like almost like I mean, it really is like trying to make an investor happy. And like that's the pressure that I feel is like the pressure I feel is like these investors and us happy because they are the reason that we exist, and like I want to hear them and I want to listen to them and I want to implement their feedback. But you know, on the same side, it's like if you're gonna come at us with like, you know, a very unproductive tone and like not providing feedback in a valuable way, then like you're probably just gonna get shied away. And like
Yeah.
customers who just straight attack us, like we're not gonna deal with you. Like you're blacklisted for. And so yeah, there is just like a little bit more pressure because it's like you actually have a relationship with your holders, and you need to hear them, you need to listen to them, and you need to like implement what their feedback is.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it does add a little bit of extra dimension there, and it is weird almost because yeah, you have this relationship and you want the best for each other, but you know when people's bags are involved, it's kind of it's a tough game. It's definitely a tough game, and yeah, that's pretty much all I'll say there. I have a couple questions here. I guess these are probably the last questions in related to EZU specifically. So, is this? I see John about a potential brand partnership. Is that something you guys announced a few weeks, like recently, or something that you guys are thinking about announcing soon?
Yeah, we were gonna push it. We were gonna push it last week, and it's probably not gonna end up getting announced until Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah, and really the only reason for that is because we had some like schedule, like we just couldn't get everybody on the same meeting until Tuesday, essentially. Like there's
Gotcha.
still some documents that need to be signed and get figured out. So yeah, John, keep your eye out for Tuesday. That's whenever that stuff is likely going down. We just had to, like I said, we had some scheduling issues and couldn't get everybody in on the same meeting until then. So yeah. So I apologize on that because yeah, we did say that was going to happen next week. So that's our bad.
Yeah, and I can actually vouch for any NFT project who has to push things back for scheduling. Since I worked at Ugaverse, they all were in Germany. My God, dude, scheduling is a fucking nightmare. Trying to get everyone on the same thing. They're like, okay, we're meeting at this time, but it's like it's some random weird time in Europe, and I'm just like, okay, I think that's 10 a.m. my time, and then we meet at 10 a.m. and they're like, oh, like we forgot someone's in India, so like they forgot, or it's a whole lot. So scheduling on its own, it's like a whole thing.
Yeah, we have people on East Coast, we have people on West Coast, Volterra Labs teams out in Australia, so it's like a scheduling nightmare. It's like we literally like I mean, unless like Volterra Labs wants to be up in the middle of the night, like we only have like a pretty much a time frame from like 1 p.m. to like 6 p.m. where like people want to meet because like not everybody is like us degens. Like I don't, you know, no significant others, no kids, so it's like I can meet literally any time of the day, any time of the night. But some people like actually have kids and families and
Yeah,
like, you know, don't have their evenings like we do. So yeah, we have a very small window that we can schedule meetings, and
yeah,
so
absolutely.
the one that we couldn't get it's not until Tuesday that we could get that meeting.
Gotcha. And then Craig, so I know we talked about this earlier a little bit. Any additional perks for holding the full set, all factions?
Yeah, they're you know, just in terms of like the storytelling side and like future workings of like how all the factions are, as you've got the travelers and stuff, like there is going to be some like cool things if you're holding all factions.
Fair. Right on. Right on. All right. We got a rapid fire last 3 questions. You ready for this shit?
Let's get it on.
Let's do it. Okay. Do you have any tattoos?
Dude, I do not have any tattoos.
Really? Do you want to get
Yeah,
tattoos?
honestly, I like somebody in the EZU Discord is like getting their EZU tattooed, and I was like, fuck, maybe I get an EZU logo just because this holder is getting their EZU tattooed. So maybe
Where would
EZU
you
is
get
my
it?
first tattoo. That's hard. Honestly, I feel like on my thigh.
Dude, I was
I
literally
don't
about to
know.
say either your thigh or your calf. For some reason, I feel like you could get one there.
Yeah, and I think the only reason for that is because like some of my like, you know, some of my friends, like mountain bike friends, they care less. They literally have a
Yeah.
tattoo gun and they get drunk and just draw shit on their thighs, and I'm like, that's like kind of sick. So I kind of like maybe I get EZU on my thigh. that's not a confirmed thing yet, so nobody go throw that out on Twitter that Kyle's getting EZU tattooed on his thigh. Like, let's have some logical conversations before
Fuck yeah.
then. Let me
Let's
ask my
go.
mom.
Yeah, ask your mom for sure, for sure. Okay, do you have any conspiracies that you've gone down the rabbit hole of watching 700 YouTube videos on?
Oh, dang. Honestly, a few. I think the one that I like most recently went down on, there's like a Malaysia flight that just disappeared and nobody's
I
ever
heard
been
about that
able to
one.
find it. What the fuck happened to that
Yeah,
thing, dude? Where is
that shit is
it?
wild. I do not know. There's some things like I love watching shows that have a supernatural element to them because I know it's fiction, but at the same time, I'm like, bro, there's some weird ass stuff that happens. Like, there's people born in like different countries who have X-ray vision, and I'm like, hold on, what do you mean you have X-ray vision? Like, well, I don't know. This person just woke up and can see through things. I'm like, but that's like not possible. They're like, no, it's happening though. I'm like, okay, so if that's possible, then all these other things could be possible, and I want it to be.
Yeah, that one. And like, I mean, like everybody thinks because I was like a government contractor, it was like security cleared, that like I know a ton about UFOs, but like, dude, I know nothing about that shit. And like, that's another one I'm super curious about. Like, what is going on? Like, who,
Bro, there's
what
gotta
are
be.
these,
There's gotta be.
what are these objects that we like do not understand their propulsion systems floating around out in the ocean? We got to figure that shit
Exactly.
out.
And like, even in my opinion, when they come out and say, okay, yeah, we don't know what these are, or they are aliens, I feel like we're gonna have like maybe 2 weeks max of people freaking out, and then it's like, all right, well, for most of us, we still have to go to work on Monday, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's like those kind of big things are gonna be crazy, but it's just weird that like this society that we've kind of morphed into this like cyborg society where everyone just gets their information from Twitter or YouTube or whatever, and we freak out for a little bit, and then we move on, and then something else crazy happens a week
Right?
later. Like, that's just how the world works.
How do we forget about this stuff?
I don't know, dude. I mean, it's like there's like no news article that's like actually crazy that's gonna last more than a month. Like, none of them, dude. Every single story that I've covered this past month, I guarantee you most people haven't heard of it, or they're like, oh yeah, that did happen. Forgot about that. Like nothing, dude. In the NFT space, we had the Pudgy Penguin 400 ETH sale. I bet everyone watching this forgot about that shit. 400 ETH sale. We had
and
all
that
these
guy's hilarious.
Yeah. Fudrick.
Yeah,
Douglas.
Fudrick is hilarious.
He's a funny dude. Okay. Oh man. This is tough. Okay, we'll skip that one. How about this? This will be our last question. Do you have any weird guilty pleasures?
Ooh. What is my guilty pleasure? Honestly, like nothing like out of the blue. Like, I mean, I occasionally like to eat bad, but like, yeah, for the most part, like, no. Honestly, I feel like my guilty pleasure is just like locking myself at home and nobody knowing I'm there.
And doing work and stuff, or what?
Just like honest, like not even doing work, just like chilling. Actually, you want to know my guilty pleasure right now is Microsoft Flight Simulator.
That is fucking weird. That's random.
like when I'm like, fuck, I've been working for a long time. I need a break. I go and play Microsoft Flight Simulator.
That's super interesting. That actually might have to try that.
Yeah, it's fun as hell, dude. Like I'm gonna start my pilot's license pretty soon. So like I don't know, I got super into flying. So like Microsoft Flight Cylinder or Flight, that's my current guilty pleasure.
That's funny. That is really funny. I actually just applied at a bar because I've always wanted to be a bartender, but there's just never a good time. And I was like, fuck, dude, like we're in a bear market. Like I definitely waste a few hours a week doing stupid shit. I could probably give up a couple shifts a week and go learn this stuff at the bar. So I'll be doing that a little bit. You guys are going to see me bartender Cade one day. I'm really excited.
I'm going to come and get a shift with you because I've always wanted to own a bar.
Me too.
Okay,
we'll go into this together. I wanted to buy a nightclub or a bar for a long time, way in the future, but I want to see what it's like.
Dude, I would love just to. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get out.
Do you have a favorite alcohol?
Yeah, I do. I'm definitely a whiskey guy. So if I'm drinking drinks, like I love a good old fashioned. If I'm shooting stuff, like I'm doing shots of tequila. Those are my two.
Yeah, I would say if I'm taking shots, I'm going tequila too. I want to get into whiskey because I don't know, fucking movies, all the cool people drink whiskeys. I'm like, all right, well, I gotta learn this stuff because I mean, it looks cool. It looks like it potentially. I mean, it tastes like shit, but like maybe it grows on you or something like that.
Hey, you get the right ones in the right form factor. They're good.
Yeah. But I'll down some shots of tequila. I've come to I've come around. I used to hate all alcohols. Like I definitely am not a huge fan of like vodka because I drank so much of that, I think, in like high school and college.
Yeah.
But that's crazy that you wanted to own a bar or a nightclub. That's I didn't think that was something that most people would want to do, but that's something I want to do too.
Dude, my like I in terms of alcohol and like drinking, my guilty pleasure is like a small mountain town dive bar with a pool table. I could spend
Yeah.
all night there. Like I love that shit. Like if that's my retirement plan, like I just own this bar and I go and bartend, play some pool with people. That's good with me.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah. Well, dude, that was a great conversation. And for the people who are in the chat, thank you for being here. We've been going for like an hour ish or something. So if you made to the very end, code word. Yeah, we'll get Kyle. We'll get Kyle spammed in the chat here for the code word if you made to the very end. So yeah, shout out Kyle, dude. Thanks for coming on. This was a great time.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. If you ever need another guest again, let me know. I'm always down to, even beyond EZU, just talk Web3 shit all day long. So
yeah, hell yeah, I'm definitely down to get you back on for that, or EZU if EZU has some event or announcement thing coming on and you want to time it, I think that would also be cool. So yeah, I'm definitely down to have you on. Guys, if you made it to the very end, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, join the kingdom. I have Kyle's stuff down below in the description if you want to follow him. And yeah, guys, thank you for being here. Until next time, continue on your Joyage, continue to learn, and be grateful you're live watching this video. Bye.